He's Josh.
And she's Danny.
And you've just tuned into the conversation. Josh, you're on Twitter.
Yes, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I'm on everything social. Like you. Like you.
We do too much.
We do a lot. Matter of fact, when we're on Twitter, we have conversations, and we don't even realize that other people are watching our conversations. We just do a lot on Twitter.
Exactly.
Do a lot on social media. But you know that there are some don'ts to social media.
Are there?
Mm-hmm. As well as the do's, there are some don'ts in whether you're being in your professional and your personal life. Mm-hmm. So I sat down with Dr. Carrie Brown here at the University of Memphis. The Daily Hillsman, in fact, coined her the social media guru. The social media guru. It must be nice to have that kind of title.
Yes, the social media guru.
Yes. So check out this interview with the social media guru.
Well, I think it's important, but I also think that social media is social and personal. So you don't, even if you're using it in a professional context, every single tweet doesn't have to be 100% serious. You can have a little bit of personality, but I do think, obviously, if you have some stuff that's just really inappropriate in a professional setting. And hopefully you never carried it quite that far, you do want to delete, that, get rid of it, maybe set up a brand new account that's a little bit more professional in nature, and just start thinking about it from a different perspective, one where people are going to be evaluating you for possible jobs, and really just keeping that in mind with everything that you post.
If there still are any doubters out there, yes, you do need to be on social media in order to find a job in the 21st century. Presumably, I'm preaching to the choir, you would not have come to an event called Going Social if you hadn't already kind of figured that out.
I think, the best way to do it is to start out just by listening and following other people, and sort of seeing what they're talking about, so that then when you interject yourself into the conversation, you kind of know what their norms are. So that's kind of where I recommend people getting started, is find some people that are in your field, people that you admire and look up to, start paying attention to what they do, and then start responding to them, start sharing things that they post with your followers that you think are good. That's kind of the best way, I think, to at least get started with it. And you can really meet a lot of people, using social networks.
But let me just show you a couple of stats here that show you how important social media is. Many companies use social media for recruiting today. LinkedIn, if you're a LinkedIn slacker like me, this is bad news. That's one thing I really need to get better at. 80% using LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, also very important. I would actually argue that if you were in the media business, whether it's journalism, advertising, public relations, these stats are probably even higher. Communicating with people, sharing information, that's kind of what we do. Okay, and also I would say for media people, Facebook and Twitter are probably going to be even more important. LinkedIn may be the best place to go for professional career networking, but as journalists, people want to know that we know how to interact with the broader public using some of these social networks. And it's not just sort of having that, I'm a social media expert in your bio, it's actually being able to demonstrate that you are able to use these tools to interact with people.
I think part of what people are attracted to on social media is your voice and your personality. That doesn't mean just posting what you had for lunch every day or intimate details of your life, but, I think it's okay to, occasionally share some things that you just think are funny or that are a little bit more personal. But of course you do want to mix that with more serious stuff that shows that you know what's going on and that you're doing good professional work too.
The do's and don'ts. So, we'll start with the don'ts. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Most people know this already, right? Probably don't want to post naked pictures of you doing illegal activities, etc. on the internet, right? We all know this, but at the same time, just today, I saw some congressional staffers who were trying to argue with reporters that their public tweets were, quote, off the record, unquote. Okay, so clearly not everyone has gotten the memo. Certainly you should check your privacy settings, but I wouldn't bet my professional life on those. I also wouldn't count on that delete key, right? This guy did not certainly mean to send those direct messages publicly out to everyone who followed him, but he did, so, I'd be a little bit careful. Again, this is all kind of common sense, but why would I entrust you with my brand if you haven't showed me that you know how to build and maintain your own? And certainly we've all heard, all the horror stories. 1 of 3 employers have rejected a candidate because of something they read online. Certainly this is something you have to be cautious about. However, is it always so obvious what you should or shouldn't do? I had a student once in one of my classes, this is Ray. He was actually a really good reporter and writer. He was also a very talented rapper. Ray came into my class with an existing Twitter account that, well, personally it didn't offend me. It was the kind of thing that sends cold chills down a professor's spine. A lot of colorful language, you might say. Other stuff that's probably not appropriate for the corporate workplace. I kind of talked him into setting up a more professional account, using it, in a more appropriate way. But what was kind of interesting to me was, through his use of social media, Ray was able to get a record label to take a look at his demo tape, okay? So he was actually very successful in his use of social media in his own way. So the moral of this story, I guess, is know your goals, be strategic, know what the expectations are in the industry you want to go in. This is not a one-size-fits-all proposition. If you want to be a surgeon or a kindergarten teacher, yeah, you're going to have to be a lot more conservative in how you use social media. If you want to be an event planner, you still have to be appropriate, but showing that you have some sign of a social life and that you're capable of interacting with other humans is probably a good thing. If all you've ever tweeted about is just very boring, very professional, straightforward stuff, you're not necessarily going to be the kind of person that somebody thinks first for that kind of job. So he's maybe a little bit of an extreme example, obviously, but the point is, knowing a little bit more about what the expectations are. And I think, as a professor, I think students do they get the negative message a lot about what you shouldn't do and you should be scared and everything else, but I think I'd like to also at least give you the message that if you're not on social media today, you essentially don't exist. So don't be so scared that you're not willing to at least try these things out a little bit. And this is an example from the CEO of a company called Communispace. Basically, she's saying, we like people who have friends. We won't reject you if you're on Facebook with a can of beer in your hand. However, journalism professor Flopus, please don't use poor spelling and grammar, a lot of profanity, or badmouth your current employer in public. Okay? So sometimes it's maybe a little more subtle about the stuff that you should do or not do. Now getting into the do's. Be honest, right? On the internet, this is kind of that iconic cartoon that we've all seen before. Yes, you can pretend to be something you're not. But I would not suggest doing that. I think people can smell a rat more quickly than you might expect. So don't always be cool and sunshine if that's not what you really believe. I also, though, would sort of, one other, and I guess this is a don't, going backwards a little bit, but the one thing, I'm probably one of the most tolerant people I know about social media use. nothing offends me very easily, but if you're always sounding bored and negative about everything, and there's a time and a place for that, certainly, but the last person I want to hire is someone that has no intellectual curiosity and is always kind of like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. That's one thing that I would kind of tend to avoid doing if you can. But certainly being honest is very important. A few more do's. Being yourself. It is a social medium. It's not called just media. It's called social media. Again, you have to be appropriate about this. You also shouldn't, you know, cliche, right? Tell us what you're eating for lunch. Or, you know, and some of my students do this. It's their timelines are just full of very mundane. Now I'm going over here. Now I'm going over there. I'm parking on the spot. You know, you probably don't want to avoid doing that, but at the same time, it's okay to show some personality. I do. I sometimes tweet about stuff in my personal life. I think that's okay. I mean, obviously, you want to try and make those interesting or funny or relevant to someone else, not just to sort of your tiny little inside group of friends. But I think it's okay to have some personality. I think it's good to show that you're experimenting, that you're curious. We can talk all day about LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. 2 years from now, when those of you that are students graduate, those might be gone, or something else has come up. But if you showed, like, I'm not scared to try these new things, I'm open to new technology and figuring out how to use it, I really think that shows your employers that you're somebody that's going to be able to keep up over time with what's going on. Contrary to popular belief, social media and creating a really effective personal presence on it takes time and effort. Right? I know that when someone sees you on Facebook, they're always like, way to procrastinate, way to slack off, right? And sometimes, okay, that's true. I'll admit it. But at the same time, this is work, and it's kind of hard work. Ask people that took my social media class. They kind of figured that out last semester. You know, my husband sees me brushing my teeth, and I'm checking Twitter. Okay, it's hard to find time in your schedule to really maintain these presences effectively. But that's really what you got to do. It's not something that in 5 minutes you can create a strong reputation for yourself. You know, it can take months or even years to really build up a strong presence on these sites, get a lot of followers, make things useful for yourself. Of course, you can research companies and industries using social media tools, get a conversation going with people even before that job ad gets posted, you know, asking them questions, showing an interest in their industry. That can be really important.
I mean, I think it does depend a little bit on which field that you're in, but I think Twitter is increasingly really valuable. There are just a lot of professionals that are on Twitter. So that's one that I would definitely try to use. Most people are on Facebook already, and that one doesn't get used quite as much in professional contexts, although you should probably be familiar with organizations, pages, and similar. Those are probably the biggest ones, but I encourage people to experiment a lot and at least have an account on Google+, even if you don't really like Google+, because Google does use Google+ as one of the things that helps it determine how high you are going to place in its search rankings. So it's worthwhile to at least have some type of presence there, even if you're not using it. I definitely don't think it does. I mean, I think it's a really important supplement to it, because sometimes there are places you're just not going to be able to be, and people that, you know, maybe they don't even live in your city, but they're still really going to be important to your future career. But, I mean, there's still a lot of value to that face-to-face, attending events, meeting people. It just helps them really remember you, I think. So, yeah, I think it's definitely a supplement, but not a replacement.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carrie Brown, for that insightful interview. And for the conversation, I am Joshua Bolden.
And I'm Danielle Wilburn.
For more exclusive interviews and conversations, you can watch us at theconversation.weebly.com. And don't forget to like us on Facebook by searching the keyword The Conversation, and following us on Twitter by searching for NABJ Convo.